Have you ever looked at your husband and thought, who is this person? Where did the man I fell in love with go? Have you ever felt trapped in a marriage that feels more like a burden than a partnership? Do you ever wonder why the love that once felt so effortless now feels like an obligation? Relationships change over time, and not always for the better. What starts as small annoyances, him leaving his socks everywhere, tuning you out mid-conversation, slowly, marriage always starts with high hopes, promises, and endless dreams of love. You think you found your forever person, the one who will always be by your side. But then, as the years go by, something changes. One day you wake up, look at your spouse, and wonder, is this really the life I signed up for? The fairy tale fades. The little things that once made you smile now irritate you. The deep conversations turn into surface-level exchanges about bills and schedules. And suddenly, you feel like you're living with a roommate, not a life partner. Sound familiar? You're not alone. In today's video, we're not just talking about theory, we're diving into real stories. Stories that aren't sugar-coated or romanticized. Marriage doesn't crumble overnight. It doesn't explode. It fades, little by little, piece by piece. At first it's subtle. The good morning kisses stop. The lingering hugs turn into quick pats on the back. Conversations go from deep and engaging to short and transactional. Did you pay the bill? What's for dinner? Women don't just wake up one day feeling disconnected. It happens gradually. They start feeling invisible, unappreciated, unheard. When was the last time he truly looked at you? Not just glanced, but really saw you. The truth is, love doesn't die in one big moment. It withers through neglect, routine, and unspoken disappointments. And when women realize they feel more alone in marriage than they did when they were single, that's a heartbreaking revelation that often shakes the very foundation of their relationship. It's not just about loneliness, it's about unmet emotional needs, unspoken words, and the growing chasm between two people who were once deeply connected. Remember when he used to text you just to say he missed you? Or when he'd surprise you with little things? A cup of coffee in the morning, a random "I love you" out of nowhere? That man seems to have disappeared, and now you feel like you're sharing your home with a stranger. At first it's small. He stops asking about your day. He zones out while you talk. You tell yourself, it's just stress, he'll snap out of it. But weeks turn into months. Conversations become transactional. Did you take out the trash? Did you pay the bill? And nothing more. Then, his phone becomes his best friend. He spends hours scrolling through social media, checking sports scores or playing games, but barely looks up when you walk in the room. And when you try to engage, all you get is, uh-huh, or yeah, sure. Date nights? What are those? When was the last time he planned something for just the two of you? He used to dress up, go out, and talk for hours. Now, you're lucky if he even notices your new haircut. The emotional connection is fading, and deep down, you're scared. Because if you don't feel connected now, what's going to happen 5, 10, 20 years from now? And let's talk about the affection, or lack of it. Once upon a time, he would hold your hand in public, pull you close just because, kiss you like he meant it. Now intimacy feels more like a chore than a connection. It's not just about sex. It's about feeling desired, feeling like he still sees you the way he used to. But somewhere along the way, he stopped trying. You start wondering, is it me? Did I do something wrong? But the truth is, it's not about blame. Relationships evolve, and people change. The problem isn't that change happens. It's when one partner stops putting in the effort to keep the connection alive. Maybe he doesn't even realize how much he's changed. Maybe he thinks everything is fine because, from his perspective, nothing is wrong. There's no big fight, no drama, but he doesn't see what you feel, the slow, painful drift apart. And here's the real danger: resentment. It starts off as mild frustration, rolling your eyes when he ignores you, feeling annoyed when he forgets something important. But over time, that frustration turns into anger. And once anger takes root, it becomes harder and harder to find your way back. So what can you do? You could yell, complain, nag. But let's be honest, that's not going to get you anywhere. Instead, you need a real conversation. Sit him down. Be honest. Not just you don't listen to me, but when you don't engage with me, I feel unimportant. Not you never touch me anymore, but I miss feeling close to you. Because here's the thing. Sometimes men don't even realize how distant they've become. They get comfortable. They assume you'll always be there. But love isn't something you set on autopilot. It's something you nurture every single day. This is not about demanding grand romantic gestures. It's about the small daily choices, choosing to put the phone down, choosing to listen, choosing to show affection. And if he's willing to try, if he's willing to reconnect, then there's hope. But if he isn't, if he dismisses your feelings, brushes off your concerns, refuses to change, then you have a decision to make, because you deserve to be in a relationship where you feel valued, seen, and loved. So, ask yourself, where do you stand? And more importantly, where do you want to be? Marriage is supposed to be a partnership, right? That's the dream. Two people, working together, sharing the load, building a life side by side. But for so many women, that dream turns into something completely different. Instead of feeling like they have a teammate, they feel like they've taken on an extra child, their husband. At first, it seems harmless. You cook dinner while he relaxes. You tidy up while he scrolls through his phone. You take care of the kids while he watches TV. You tell yourself, it's okay, I don't mind. But little by little, the imbalance grows, and before you know it, you're carrying the weight of the entire household on your own. And it's not just about the physical work, it's the mental load, too. Women are the ones who remember doctor's appointments, school projects, family birthdays, and what's running low in the fridge. Meanwhile, he gets to say, just tell me what to do. Like that somehow makes up for the fact that he never takes the initiative. You remind him to take out the trash. You remind him to pick up the groceries. You remind him to call his mom on her birthday. And after a while, you start to wonder, why do I have to manage everything? Why can't he just see what needs to be done and do it? The worst part? When you finally bring it up, he acts like you're overreacting. Why are you making such a big deal out of this, he asks. Or worse, he throws out the classic line, just ask me if you need help. As if the problem is that you're not delegating well enough, when in reality, the problem is that you shouldn't have to delegate at all. Imagine if the roles were reversed. Imagine if he was the one who had to keep track of everything, from bills to laundry to dinner plans, while you just did whatever you felt like in the moment. Would he feel supported? Or would he feel exhausted and unappreciated, just like you do now? And let's talk about the resentment that builds up over time. At first, it's frustration. Rolling your eyes when he forgets something important, feeling irritated when he leaves his dirty clothes on the floor. But then, that frustration turns into something deeper. You start feeling invisible. You start feeling like your needs don't matter. And when you feel unheard for too long, it creates a distance that's hard to close. So, what can you do? Yelling won't help. Nagging won't fix it. You need to have a real, honest conversation. Not just, you never help me, but I feel overwhelmed and I need a real partner in this, not just someone who waits for instructions. The truth is, many men aren't trying to be lazy. They've been raised in a world where traditional gender roles still exist, even if they don't realize it. For generations, women have been expected to handle the home, even when they also work full-time jobs. So, if your husband is falling into that pattern, it doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't care. It means he needs to unlearn what he thought was normal. But here's the thing, he has to be willing to change. He has to see the imbalance and care enough to fix it. It's not about doing chores when you ask. It's about taking ownership of his role in the household without being reminded every step of the way. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about dirty dishes or laundry piles. It's about respect. It's about feeling like you're in a relationship where both people contribute equally, where your time and effort are just as valuable as his. So, what now? Do you keep doing everything yourself and hope he wakes up one day and realizes how much you've been carrying on your own? Do you keep waiting, hoping that one day he'll see the silent sacrifices, the late nights, the emotional labor, and the constant effort you put into keeping the relationship alive? Or do you finally acknowledge the truth? That love shouldn't feel this one-sided. When you first met, he cared about his appearance. He worked out, dressed well, and smelled amazing. But now, the gym is a distant memory, and his idea of dressing up is wearing sweatpants that don't have holes in them. At first, you ignore it. Life gets busy, right? But then, the changes start piling up. He's gained weight, he eats whatever he wants without thinking about the consequences, and personal hygiene. Let's just say the effort isn't what it used to be. And it's not just about looks. His energy levels drop. He used to love going on hikes or trying new activities, but now he just wants to sit on the couch all day. You suggest going for a walk together, and he groans like you just asked him to run a marathon. The snoring gets worse too. At first it was cute, maybe even funny. Now it's a full-on sleep disruption. You spend your nights tossing and turning while he snores like a freight train. You've tried earplugs, nudging him to roll over, even sleeping in another room. But nothing helps. And let's talk about the smoking or drinking habits. Maybe it started as an occasional thing, but now it's part of his daily routine. You worry about his health, but every time you bring it up, he shrugs it off. It's fine, he says. I feel great. But you know that's not true. You see the exhaustion in his eyes, the way he gets winded going up the stairs. And here's the kicker. He doesn't see a problem. When you bring up your concerns, he either laughs it off or gets defensive. Why does it matter? I'm still the same person. But is he? Because the man you fell in love with had energy, confidence, and self-respect. It's not about wanting him to look like a model. It's about wanting him to take care of himself, for both of you. Because when one partner lets themselves go, it doesn't just affect them. It affects the relationship. It affects attraction, intimacy, and even the way you see each other. So what do? You could nag him about it every day, but that won't help. You could stay quiet and hope he changes on his own, but that's unlikely. Or you could have a real conversation. Tell him, I miss the man who used to care about his health. I want us both to feel good and live long, healthy lives together. Because here's the truth. Love isn't just about feelings. It's about effort. And when one person stops making the effort, the relationship starts to suffer. So ask yourself, how long are you willing to wait for him to wake up? There's a special kind of loneliness that comes from being in a relationship with someone who isn't really there. You sit next to him on the couch, but he barely acknowledges you. You try to start a conversation, but he gives you one-word answers. You lay next to him in bed, but it feels like miles apart. It's not that he's physically absent, it's that he's emotionally gone. At first, you tell yourself it's just a phase. He's stressed from work. He's tired. Maybe it's just a rough patch. But weeks turn into months, and months turn into years. You start to feel invisible. You wonder if he even sees you anymore. And the worst part, you don't even know how to bring it up. And it's not just the conversations, it's the little things. He used to check in on you, ask how your day was, and surprise you with small gestures of love. Now he barely looks up from his phone when you walk into the room. The effort is gone, the connection is fading, and every time you try to bring it up, he either dismisses it or acts like you're imagining things. Maybe you've tried everything. You've planned date nights. You've left little notes. You've poured your heart into making things work. But it's hard to fix a relationship when you're the only one trying. You start to ask yourself, is this what marriage is supposed to feel like? And then the self-doubt creeps in. Is it me? Am I asking for too much? But deep down, you know the truth. You're not asking for anything unreasonable. You're asking for a connection, for presence, for the kind of love that makes you feel seen. The real danger here isn't just feeling lonely. It's what that loneliness leads to. Resentment, emotional disconnection. Eventually, you stop trying. You stop talking. You stop expecting. You become two people coexisting under the same roof, living parallel lives instead of a shared one. So what now? You could ignore it, pretend it doesn't bother you. But that won't make it go away. Or you could sit him down and be honest, not in an accusing way, but in a real, raw, vulnerable way. I miss us. I miss feeling close to you. I don't want us to become strangers. Because that's the truth. No one gets married expecting to end up as roommates. Love isn't just about time spent together. It's about the effort to stay connected. And if he's willing to try, there's hope. But if he isn't, then you have to ask yourself, how long am I willing to feel alone in my own marriage? There are moments in a marriage that change everything. Sometimes it's a slow drift apart. Other times, it's a single moment that shatters everything you thought you knew. For many women, that moment is discovering an affair. The gut-wrenching realization that the man they trusted, the man they built a life with, has betrayed them. And it's not just about the act. It's about the lies, the secrecy, the emotional disconnect that led up to it. Maybe she finds a message on his phone. Maybe a friend tells her something she never expected to hear. Maybe she just feels it. The late nights, the cold distance, the way he looks at her like she's a stranger. And when she finally confronts him, he either denies it, makes excuses, or worse, acts like it's no big deal. At that moment, a flood of emotions takes over. First, there's shock. Then, anger. Then pain so deep it feels like her heart has physically broken. She replays every memory, wondering where things went wrong. Did she miss the signs? Was it her fault? The truth is, betrayal isn't just about cheating. It's about breaking trust, the foundation of any relationship. And once that trust is gone, everything feels unstable. Some women try to forgive. They tell themselves they can move past it, that love is stronger than betrayal. Others can't imagine staying in a marriage where they feel like second place. So what now? That's the real question. Is it worth fighting for? Or is it time to walk away? Only she can decide. But one thing is certain. After betrayal, things will never be the same again. No woman should feel like an option in her own marriage. If he betrayed her once, will he do it again? And if he does, how much more is she willing to endure? Marriage doesn't fall apart in one big explosion. It crumbles slowly, through neglect, through silence, through the little moments when love is taken for granted. If you've been feeling disconnected, if you've been questioning your relationship, don't ignore it. Problems don't fix themselves. They only get worse with time. Maybe this video hit close to home. Maybe you recognize yourself in these stories. If so, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this the life I want? Is this the love I deserve? Because love isn't supposed to feel like an obligation. It's not supposed to feel like loneliness. The good news? It's never too late to change things. Maybe it's time for an honest conversation, a wake-up call, or a shift in expectations. And in some cases, maybe it's time to walk away. Whatever the choice, make sure it values your happiness, your self-worth, and your future. So what now? The next move is yours. Have you ever felt this way? Do any of these stories sound familiar? If so, you're not alone. Relationships are complicated, and marriage isn't always easy. But one thing is certain, you deserve to feel loved, valued, and appreciated. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced this shift in your marriage? Do you feel like your relationship has changed over time? Drop a comment below and share your story. Let's start a conversation because trust me, you're not the only one going through this. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe for more content on love, relationships, and personal growth. Because at the end of the day, happiness isn't just something you hope for. It's something you build, one choice at a time. Remember, real love isn't about settling, it's about growing together. And if that's not happening, it's time to take action.